Game of Thrones. We're talking 8 seasons, 73 episodes, critically acclaimed, loved by millions, and very, very much over. So why is it that Mega Construx has just come to market with this buildable Daenerys and Drogon buildable collectible set? This is $70 US. Comes with 735 pieces, and while we're talking about numbers, the wingspan from tip to tip, fully stretched out, is about 35 inches, just short of a yard, or 89 centimeters, very close to 0.9 meters. This is substantial. It's just really, really late. It's not even all about quantity here either. There is some good quality with the sturdiness of the build, good use of different types of materials, which I'll show you in more detail, and plenty of articulation and posability. I mean, look at this. This is not a toy first collectible maybe kind of thing. This is designed for Game of Thrones nerds to proudly display however they want, wherever they want. And for folks who like to put things together, like to assemble kits, this is a proper building kit. It relies only the very minimum on specialized pieces. You can see the head. We'll get in a little bit closer and take a look at some of the parts. The head is its own thing. It's unique for this model, as it needs to be. There are some frilly pieces that are new, and the wings are unique to this model. But most of the other pieces are just regular Mega Construx parts that you've probably seen in many other sets that they've released in the past. They're just normal brick-based building set kind of components. Let's focus on these wings for a second. These are made from a heavy draping cloth. It has a tendency to just fold up on its own, has a lot of weight that causes it to bunch up properly, doesn't get too crinkled up. I didn't even bother to iron this out. I could have gotten a little bit of the folding line out of that to make it even a little bit better. But this is backed up with some skeletal kind of work behind there, which you do have to build up yourself. And it just wants to flow to gravity. And if you don't want it to do what gravity wants it to do, then just stretch out those fingers of sorts to keep it taut. It's got a pretty nice print here. I do wish that it was a little bit less translucent, a little bit more opaque, just a little, because I can see some light through there. I do have obviously a lot of light in my studio here. Most people won't see through this in most situations, but in some you will. Some realistic situations you will. But I really like how this folds up. You can almost fully, really fold those wings in, or you can get them in pretty close. And then the arms do have ball joints that have an interesting new piece inside that I personally haven't seen previously. They may have done it before, but they've added in a silicone piece, a little silicone insert there that adds some extra friction to these large ball joints. And then you've got another one right here, the same, and then just a little finger phalange there that you can also move around, which is useful if you're going to pose this onto the ground especially. These are all on ball joints, so they can actually go up and down, not just in and out, which is interesting. And you can just slightly change the orientations of these little claws at the tips and all. For the legs, these are ratcheted, so they're very, very strong. You can also flay in and out. And then here you have a friction added ball joint. It's able to go forward and back, also side to side as needed. Smaller ball joint down here at the ankle. Still has some friction in it, not nearly as much, but weight of the animal the beast will be supported mostly on the heel and the ball of the foot here. The foot does have ball joints for the toes, the claws here, so these are going to be moved around, adjusted as you need, including with the kind of thumb there if you need a little bit more support for some poses. The whole thing does hold itself together pretty well. Just in general, this is built better than a lot of the more recent highly articulated animals and mechs that Mega has done. All of these frilly bits are a silicone material, and they're just inserted in between bricks, so you do get a little bit of gap there. Works out just fine though. Holds in with plenty of clutch power holding it together. Got a lot of marbled pieces, mostly marbled pieces used throughout this with multiple colors put together, so nothing looks too plain, nothing looks too boring, but this all works out pretty nicely, and they even double up as you get up here. So I guess I kind of skipped the body a little bit, too much there, but the body is fully built up. Minimum number of really large pieces. Again, specialized stuff is kept absolutely to a minimum. Really scaly down here. You can see inside just a little bit, not too much. Do appreciate the work that you as a buyer, as an owner of this, have to put in to this to put it together. Came with all the pieces that it was supposed to, plus a whole lot more. I feel like Meg actually planned for some mistakes. I don't know what goes wrong in the post-production process, not post-production process, but the post-design process. Sometimes, actually a little bit too frequently these days, they'll have an addendum to the instructions and an errata bag that has extra pieces that were missing or that need to be replaced relative to the main ones that are produced for the set. But in this case, they didn't even call that out. They just have a whole extra bag of parts. And there are a few places in the build where I was like, I'm missing pieces. This is not good. But no, they were included, plus lots more. I ended up with a whole handful of extra pieces. So I don't mind that. You know, as long as the pieces are there, I can build the thing. And then, yeah, ball joints here. This can go all around, up and down. Quite a bit of articulation there. I personally could do for a little bit more. Wouldn't mind if there was a little bit more, but it's not bad. And then the head has a combination of machine painted, human assisted, and human applied paint applications. So just the kind of airbrushing technique used towards the backs here. Got some masking used for the eyes on either side. I think the teeth are either masked in or done by hand. And then there's a gum line. It's also put in to make it show that dark red. This one's off just a tiny bit on this side. It's actually a little bit better on this side, but I do believe that's done by hand. It's not bad for something that's mass produced. I like the overall production of this, and this opens up. Got a dark red tongue down in there as well. Closes up, not too far. Still shows the teeth. Yeah, it's pretty good. You put that one single horn piece in the top, and then there are just a couple of handles here for Daenerys to hold on to the thing. You know, give it a little bit of grip. She doesn't have a proper seat or anything, but these figures do have some limitations to how they can articulate. They did not give her cloth pieces for the dress, so there is a limitation to the articulation there. Let me go ahead and show you the figure up close. I have to admit, in some lighting conditions, this figure does not look so good in the head and the face, but when you get up close enough, you can really appreciate it. The head sculpt is new and unique for this character, and the paint applications are pretty crisp and pretty well placed. Keep in mind the scale of what we're looking at here. This is not a large action figure, okay? This is a tiny thing. It's considered micro scale. So to get that level of detail at this kind of size in something that's mass produced is actually very commendable. And don't look at just the head, but also look at the rest. You know, look at the light yellow colored lines that are printed on there, the wavy pattern that's printed in there. The silver band is actually a straight piece that you have to bend around, and then you kind of put one end, lock it like through the end, through a hoop at the end. It's a little bit awkward, and especially awkward to kind of pose it on the figure. But I am definitely nitpicking there. The hair sculpt is fantastic. That's the actual color of the plastic there that they use, that very, very pale yellow, and then the face is actually painted on. I think you can actually see what may be, I was going to say it's a fingerprint, but I actually don't think it is. I think it's just a little bit of shrinkage that occurred over there, just looking at the detail really up close. But yeah, the hair mold is fantastic, and that's all part of the same piece as the head itself. And they even paint the neck under there, which is a very nice detail to add that in. So it really helps to sell the whole thing. And this has the normal articulation of all the modern Mega Construx figures, only limited by the shape of the garb. So she does have the waist articulation, and legs are also articulated. Hopefully I can get this in there. And you've got the slits there, so you are able to take advantage of some of the articulation of the swift kick right there, of the legs, which are also able to splay around. The hip joint on either side has a ball joint in there, so this is able to rotate around and everything. It's pretty good, especially for this size. I really don't think it could have been done too much better. I personally think the shape of the nose is a little bit off, possibly a little bit too aquiline, a little bit too thin and pointed, just to me. But the rest of the shape is good, and I think the compromise of including the holes to represent the iris and pupil area, and then adding also the white for the cornea as paint, I think is a pretty good compromise there, rather than just you doing one or the other, or painting in the irises, which can look also dead. I think this looks pretty good in real life, from more real normal angles than looking at it so close here at 4K. At the end of the day, I'm impressed with this thing. I'm not impressed with the name Black Series here. That's definitely a bit derivative from a competing company. Mega Construx is run by Mattel, but the set itself is really good. It's too bad that they show this computer-generated rendering on the box, because it takes a little bit of the life of the thing away. Yeah, it's consistent and posed exactly how they want, with absolutely no wrinkles where they don't want them in the cloth and everything. I don't feel like it's unrealistic, this depiction, but I think the real thing looks better and looks more present than this. The face is a little bit better shown here, and definitely I don't know what that's called, the chain that goes around her is shown a little bit better here. But the real set, the actual thing, is pretty proper, and having all that articulation is wonderful. Having to put the whole thing together from lots and lots of little pieces is enjoyable. The build process is good. There's nothing frustrating about it. They do have the ability these days to put parts into numbered bags, and they fully take advantage of that legal right now that the old anti-competitive patent on that idea has expired. So small bags of pieces, it's very easy to identify the parts. Yes, they were missing some pieces from the main bags, but they, like I said, they include that extra bag that has more than you need to finish everything up, including the right things plus extras. So this is good, and the price to volume of stuff ratio is decent. When you stretch it all the way out, you definitely have something that's really impressive. I think when you fold the wings in, it really shows you more of the total volume of what's really here, because this is mostly just skinny stuff. There's no depth to that. So most of what you're paying for is, in terms of material here, is just down the body. And $70 for that, I don't know, feels a little bit high to me. It's not unreasonable, but it is a little bit high. Once you stretch the wings out, though, it becomes really, really impressive. Really, really impressive. Being able to pose it any kind of way, including great ways to hang it from a ceiling, something like that, or to really condense it down for display on a desk. It's nice to have those options, And it's just well produced overall. It's just late. Just really disappointed that Mega wasn't able to bring this to market when they should have, before Season 8 premiered. Yeah, Season 8 for a lot of people was disappointing, but that would have been the correct time, before it was over, and people were still hyped up. we're gonna get to the climactic finale. You know, it was just the right time, but instead they're after it. And even if season 8 had been fantastic and everybody had loved it, I mean, I personally enjoyed it, but a lot of people didn't. But even if it had performed really well, I still feel like this is just late to market, and that's too bad. Really cool set, though. Hope you enjoyed this look at it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.